off just by passing on our thanks out from Portland to everybody on this call. I know it's a long call, it's a long training. I appreciate you bearing with us, making it this far. And Alex, thanks for passing on our thanks as a group for everything that they're doing on a daily basis. And because we know how hard you all work and how difficult the work is, we wanted a slide that is focused on you. We know that this can be stressful. We know that it can be difficult work, and we know that we are operating under trying times right now. And so we want to talk a little bit about self-care. So the first thing I want to do is just take about 30 seconds, and if you can go get a paper and pen, we're going to actually have some actionable items during this presentation. So if you can have a pen and paper, and your owners are probably going to ask you a little bit about this down the road, so I would just encourage you to actually write a little bit of this down. All right, so first I want to talk to you about self-care, and I know that we get bombarded with information these days. Are we taking care of ourselves? Are we, are we following proper protocol? Are we taking care of our clients correctly? Is our family healthy? Are our kids making it through classes okay? We're all wearing a lot of hats at this point in time. And so I want to talk a little bit about what it means to take care of yourself. It's not just about, nurturing one aspect. I'm going to go home and I'm going to unwind from my job, but I'm also responsible for a lot of things at home as well. So I want to make sure that you're nurturing your body, your mind, and your spirit. Talk about what it takes to build yourself up so that your internal resources don't become depleted. What's happening right now, I think for a lot of us, is we go through our workday, we build up stress when we go home, and we struggle to cope with both our work and our home lives. So we're going to talk about just a few tasks, a few things that we can do to improve both that work life and our home life. Okay. One of the most important things as a caregiver, I think, is that when you were hired, you talked about our care value system. We talked a lot about what you feel for other people. What we may not always focus on, and what you may not focus on, is what you're going to do to take care of yourself on a daily basis. We know that we only have so much energy in a day. We only have so much time to take care of everybody else around us. If we're not taking care of ourselves first, we absolutely cannot provide appropriate care for our families. We can't provide appropriate care for our patients when we come into work. I want to talk to you a little bit about stress, because some of this, I know some people view this as being a little wishy-washy, and I want you to chime in. That's great. Barbara's chiming in with, has some self-care tips as well here. And I want you to utilize the chat function as we're going forward. If you have any tips that you personally used, if you have any stressors that you don't know how to work around, use the chat function. I want this to be as interactive as possible. But I do want to talk a little bit about how stress alone can affect us. I've been through this throughout my career as well. I've talked with my own primary doctor as to what stress is doing to us physically. It's not just that we get tired throughout our day. It can have very serious ramifications, and so I want you to pay attention to it. I don't know if you're aware that this can increase your blood pressure, right? Which in turn can directly result in heart attacks. It can increase, fertility problems, increase insomnia. That can weaken your immune system. So you find yourself, and I think a lot of people during this crisis find themselves sick more often, and then increasing their stress and wondering whether or not, they have COVID and what's going on. Sorry, looks like my slides are jumping around here. Okay. And the most important thing I want you to wrap your head around is that self-care is not selfish. So sometimes we feel bad when we're in the middle of a stressful shift. Things are difficult. The client might be difficult. It might be a lot of work. You might have heard from your office and find that stressful as well. But over the course of some of our long shifts, we have time to step back and reflect on ourselves. That might be, a 5-minute break where we're in the corner of a room. We're able to just step back and find out what's really stressing us out in that moment. It's important that you take this time and you pay attention to yourself. So that's the first mindset change I want you to make, is that self-care is absolutely not selfish. And it's very important if you're going to be successful in this career. Some of the things I want you to, as you're focusing on that mindset and understanding that self-care is not selfish, we also need to change our mindset and recognize warning signs in ourselves. We're all working at a very fast pace now in a stressful world. So one of the things that I want you to sit back over the course of your day is recognize some of these signs. If typically you found that you were able to make it through the course of your day, you were able to make it home, help your children with school, you typically went out for a jog, and now you're finding you're just too tired on a daily basis, that might be a sign that you're overwhelmed, that you're falling back into some old habits regarding eating. You're falling back into eating junk food when you get home, things that just make you feel comfortable in the moment, but maybe your stomach and your body does not feel good later on. Those are signs that we're relying on those as a stress relief. Okay? And if you're withdrawing that from any enjoyable activities, at this point, I think we all have a few, maybe very few activities that we can actually get out and do. But if we can get out into the community and focus on those activities, back on the slide. And then if you also find yourself just fixated on negative thoughts, you're finding that work life is not what you want it to be, you find that home life is not what you want it to be, that you're anxious to leave the house, that you're anxious to go into work, or maybe even anxious to go back home. Those may all be warning signs that you're just overwhelmed. So I want you to pay attention to those signs, pay attention to your body. As you have increased headaches, you feel like you're ill on a daily basis. Identify that within yourself, and then we're going to come up with a plan as to what we can do going forward. Okay? The first and the important key, and I want everybody to write down 2 sources of stress with your pen and paper, and then if anybody's brave enough, if you would share those stresses via the chat function with the group.
Jerome, this is William. Are you able to see the chat?
Yep, I have it.
Okay, so there's been several. So Barbara Leach said, let me see here. Personally, self-care reduces stress levels, keeps me motivated, and keeps me focused. And boosts personal happiness. And then she also said she practices yoga, meditation, eating nutritionally, taking long nature walks. It's a virtual part of keeping self healthy. Without our health, we cannot help others. At end of shift, consider what did I do to help the client feel important and useful. Never involve self in negative attitude of client. Then we have some others. Chris Perkins asked, does Rick count? So Shayline, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Work and home, car problems, LOL, he counts. Amy, that I visit young children and interact with them. My life is just in another world and I forget about everything. Luring at work, of course, important to note, I have no children of my own. Cece, I suffer from mental illness badly, so I just have to take days for myself. Dancing, working out helps me. Kaylee, work, Jerome, haha, and COVID, deep breathing exercises. Ponder Girl 63, I work with a woman with Alzheimer's. She will not allow me to assist her, showering, etc. And that might be the last one.
Gotcha.
It is.
Gotcha. So one of the reasons I asked you to share that with the chat is one of the things that we can do to eliminate some of these stressors is create a support network. And it's not just knowing that we have, we have that good friend that we're going to reach out to, and we have that family member, but really write down that support group. So I want you to take a second here while I'm talking and write down 2 or 3 people that you can reach out to directly that you know will be there to talk through some of these issues. Sometimes it's difficult. Kaylee shared, jokingly, I hope here, that I'm one of her stressors, and that work is one of her stressors. So that might be a difficult thing for her to approach me with directly. And so identifying that social network, that group that she can reach out to directly and discuss that stress and just air it out there. Okay. And then lastly, what I want to work on is setting realistic and attainable goals as it relates to our health. So now we've talked about a few different things. We've identified some sources of stress in our life. We've identified our support network, and we're going to talk a little bit about setting those goals. And the important thing here, and the reason I use the terms realistic and attainable, is so often we set goals that are lofty, they're difficult to attain, and then we set ourselves up for failure. So, if I am spending most of my days after hours right now sitting on the couch watching movies, and my goal within the next month is to run a marathon, it's probably not going to happen. But if I can set a realistic and attainable goal of the next month, I want to be able to run 1 mile, and I'm going to start with baby steps. Okay, so I want these goals to be attainable and realistic. So we're going to break it down into 2 different categories, and the first is physical health goals. So one of the things that helps me on a daily basis is just focus on improving eating habits. I brought up before that, eating is a form of stress relief. I fall back into that on a very personal level regularly. And so during this COVID crisis, I had to set a goal for myself. You might be able to find some apps online, I know I did, that just helped me with meal planning, keeping me in check. When I get stressed out, I'm not falling back into that junk food habit. So it might be a goal where we're just eliminating one thing. If you like to drink 3 Coca-Colas a day, it might be eliminating one of those. It's not eliminating everything you enjoy from your life, but planning those out and being conscious about those decisions as it relates to our diet. And then implement some sort of physical fitness goal. We know that physical activity decreases stress on a daily basis. Set goals for yourself. It doesn't mean that you need to run a marathon. It doesn't mean that you need to, be the next Iron Woman. But you can set a daily walk. It might be that before your shift and after your shift, you take a pet for a walk, or you plan a family walk together around the neighborhood. Set a larger goal. You can run a 5K, that you can take up, a lot of suggestions here for yoga. You can increase that physical activity and set time aside to do that. Sometimes we have distractions at home and we have to let everybody within our social work or social network know that we need that space. Okay. And then try to improve your sleep habits. It might be that you need to set up a new sleep routine. It might be that extra half an hour of sleep a day improves your energy level. So set that alarm at 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock, so that you're getting to bed at a good time. It might be that you need to wake up on time, that you've been sleeping half the day away. Use your alarm to set a new cycle. And then when we talk about mental health, we talked about creating our support network. We each have down on our paper 2 or 3 people that we know that we can go to and discuss our goals. They can help keep you accountable for those goals. And they can be your ear when you need to vent. Okay. Also focus and do some research. I'm not going to go into it too much here, but practice relaxation exercises. I like to, step aside and meditate for 5 minutes and pull myself away from the situation. Focus on your breathing techniques. It brings your heart rate down. It sounds cheesy. People will work through it with you on taking deep breaths, but it really does bring your heart rate down and helps you center your thought. And then prayer or your faith. A lot of people in this group, I think, have a faith in some sort of spirituality or some sort of spiritual level. Fall back on that and use that as your support network. A big piece here that I think a lot of caregivers fall into is guilt. A lot of people feel bad while they're on a shift, while they're on a home, or while they're at home about feeling negative about their client, about feeling negative about a family situation, maybe even their significant other. Don't feel bad about those negative emotions. Let go of that guilt and talk that through with your support network. Babe, this is a stressful time and we understand it. And along those same lines, be proactive in noticing the positive. When you're out in your community, when you are out at the grocery store, when you're at home with your family, focus on the positive things in your life. Okay? So what we're going to do here is focus on our self-care plan. I want each individual to write down the steps that you're going to take. So 2 steps that are going to focus on your own individual mental health, 2 steps that are going to focus and goals that you're going to focus on your physical health. And while we are working on this, I want to play a song here. I had a hyperlinked video that has disappeared, but I'm going to play a little song, and I use this to center me. This was my father's favorite song, and it's what he listened to through his end-of-life journey. I use this to center me as I'm focusing on my daily care plan. So I'm going to leave you with some words here from Louis Armstrong, a much more intelligent individual than myself. And if you take those few minutes just to work on your own self-care plan and then share some of those tips with the group. All right, that should have given some time, hopefully, to reflect on your own care plan and thoughts. Did anybody have any questions or any tips they were able to write down that they'd like to share with the group?
Jerome, can you see the chats now?
Yeah, I just pulled them up. Thanks.
Okay, good. Because there's a lot coming in.
Oh yeah. So Dustin's talked about exercise. Barbara Leach, talked about the song just putting her in a reflective place and just focusing again on the positive, that the world is a wonderful place to be living in with COVID aside. Said that she gives herself 30 minutes each morning and evening just for herself. Sometimes just reading a book, giving herself a facial, or creating a new recipe. Love it. Great. Well, if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to your owner directly, and I'm happy to discuss it with you as well. Take care.